Hi, I'm Pav.
And I'm Neil.
And welcome to the Top 10 of Anything podcast.
Let's start the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
From the court jester in ye olden days to the rock and roll stand-up playing in front of tens of thousands at a sold-out stadium, the comedian comes in many guises. From thoughtful comedy to gross-out comedy to firing one-liners to engaging with the audience. There have been many iconic comedies. So many iconic comedians, fuck that up, and performances. Here I am with 10 comedy facts. It's not 10 comedy facts, it's actually 10 one-liners. And as we have a professional here, we're going to get her view on what these one-liners are like. So here we go. Number 1, Adam and Eve were the first ones to ignore the Apple terms and conditions. I'm glad I brought the typed in comedy. Wonderful. Will glass coffins be a success? Remains to be seen. The man who invented knock-knock jokes should get a Nobel Prize. The problem isn't that obesity runs in your family, it's that no one runs in your family. 250 pounds here on Earth is 94.5 pounds on Mercury. No, I'm not fat, I'm just not on the right planet. I went to buy some camo pants, but couldn't find any.
How many more of these is there?
There's 10 altogether.
Oh, great.
When life gives you melons, you might be dyslexic. When life gives you... Oh, no, I've just done that one, sorry. What's the difference between ignorance and apathy? I don't know and I don't care. Oh, the crowd must have heard that one before because they laughed before I said it. I hate Russian dolls. They're so full of themselves. And don't you hate it when someone answers their own questions? I do. And the crowd goes wild. Thank you, everybody. No, please. That's far too generous. Thank you. Anyway... As you can tell, I am not a professional comedian, but our guest this week on this episode is not only a professional comedian, she's an award-winning professional comedian, and not only an award-winning professional comedian, but someone that we can have called friend nearly 10 years now.
Is it?
It's nearly 10 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only Cerys Nelmes, and I can't believe I haven't got your jingle.
Where's my jingle?
I cannot believe that I didn't. Why did I not have that lined up?
Like, that's my thing.
Oh my God. I feel like I've...
The only time I hear it is when you play it for me.
I'm so sorry. There you go. I've really balls that up because that was something that would have been made for this. But anyway.
Exactly. Well...
Hello, Cerys. How are you?
Hiya, Pat.
Oh, sorry, award-winning Cerys. How are you?
Oh, stop it. Don't. I was in London to pick up my award last night.
Were you?
What a shit show.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? So tell everybody, what did you win the award for?
So basically, every year, because the actual sort of circuit comedians weren't winning any of the main awards that are run by people, the comedians on the circuit decided to do their own. So it's only fellow comedians that are working full-time in the industry that can vote. So basically, it's your peers voting for your peers. So
it's like Player of the Year award.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's just voted for by comedians. So it just gives a different outcome to what any other award would, because it's the people that are on the circuit rather than people that are just ticking boxes and are rammed on telly before they're ready. So so I won Best MC, which is good because we all know I love to talk to people.
Indeed.
It's my favourite thing to do. But on the back of that, went to pick up my award in our little ceremony last night in London, only to be brought on by the man that was giving out the awards by him saying, "Fuck knows who she is." I'm hoping some of you do, seeing as you voted for her. I don't know who she is. I don't know how she's won Best MC. Cerys Nelmes.
You're kidding me.
No, so he's a London comic. And as far as he's concerned, if I'm not in London, I'm not a comedian.
Right.
So I had to come on to him introducing me like that. Now, bear in mind, I'm the only female out of the 4 awards as well,
Right.
and it's the only person he introduces to the stage like that. I'm
Unbelievable.
devastated, right? I'm so upset. I come on stage, I was like, nice welcome for me. That was great. So I had to turn around and go. So of course, some of you probably won't know me. I'm a comedian that doesn't live in London. Yeah, we do exist. Thanks for the award. And walked off. And then there was a few comedians that could see I was upset. And they were like, oh, he's just trying to be a bit funny, but he just ended up being a bit of a prick.
Yeah,
and I drove all the way to London.
Is it something that everyone would know? Is it like a named comedian or?
No, it's nobody you would know. I would know him because he's on the circuit. Saying that, I've never worked with him. I worked with his son, who's about mid-20s. So I've done loads of gigs with his son. I was in Austria with his son last year.
Right.
So that kind of gives you an idea that I don't work with him yet. I work for all the big comedy venues. I work with his son, so he's had his time, and it's just obviously a little bit bitter or whatever. It was just horrible, Pav. I was so looking forward to it. It's the first award I won. Got all dressed up, drove all the way to London, only to be introduced onto stage like that.
That is shit. That is
absolutely
shocking.
They gave us awards, didn't even have our names on them because they'd cobbled them together quite quickly. And the people because you're supposed to like pass it on year after year.
Right.
So like I would put money towards next year's awards. And the people that won it last year are absolutely embarrassed at the award that we've got. So they're making new ones and stuff. It just felt like I've been a bit depressed all day. Just felt a bit tarnished.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, look. I mean, they can't take it away from you.
No, exactly.
Even if you want to give it away, they can't take it off you.
I've got it for a year. That's it. It's mine.
But then you're always going to be the best MC for this year. So I mean, I feel really sorry for you. I really do. But don't feel down about it.
No.
For us, you're our top MC every year. So, and I will say this. So we started podcasting in April 2013. So our 10-year anniversary is coming up. Now, I'm sure it was the summer of 2013 that was the first Phoenix Festival. Is that right?
Quite possibly, yeah. Because I started in 2011, but obviously didn't do a lot of gigs for the first. It was just open spot gigs and stuff like that. So yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So that was where we met you because you were the MC for the very first Phoenix Festival.
Yes.
And then since then, I mean, I knew from the first 2 minutes of meeting you that we were going to get on, as me and Neil and you, because we all had the same kind of sense of humor. We knew that you were you didn't give a fuck about what someone said to you or what you said to somebody else, and I love that. As you'll find out on my list of comedians, I love that kind of thing where somebody is quite happy to give a joke but take a joke. And look, you very kindly come and did our live shows and was a guest and legendarily spoke to us for an hour, and then the computer turned off and we had to do it all again. I mean, it's never, touch wood, it has never happened since and before. And it was we were so lucky because anybody else it would have been a problem, but for you, a trooper, and just laughed about it, and we asked the same questions to you for another hour.
Exactly.
and I have
this. There's when I did Frog and Bucket in Manchester, and there was a couple of nights where they had some serious technical issues because when it was all Zoom and live and stuff like that. And the 2 times she turned around to me, she went, "I am so glad you were on," she said, "because I know you can cope with whatever happens." She said, "Anybody else wouldn't have been able to." So she said, "The fact is that you were here for both times when that happened meant that I could just sit back and go, it's okay, we'll get it sorted. But in the meantime, Cerys is on top of this. She's got it." So yeah, I love it.
And then when we did the WTAF shows, I mean, I've never had so many people come up, and before they said that they enjoyed the show, just like saying Cerys is amazing, Cerys is fantastic, and I think out of the 4 shows, I think you did 2 of them. Yeah, I think you did 2 of
Possibly.
them. Maybe the first one and the last one. But yeah, I've
Well, that's
never
it.
known.
But then you create like a family kind of thing around what you do,
We hope
so
so.
that
Yeah.
so they all come together and you just make so many friends. And like I'm still friends with loads of them, and they message me and tag me and stuff. And that's what's nice about it is things like that.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, there is. It's not a first. When we go through our top 10, you'll understand it's happened before, but something special is going to happen in our top 10. But this is a first because this is the first time that we've had somebody as a guest that has been on the ads of the podcast, because we're with Acast, and we had lottery adverts, I think over Christmas. And I remember sitting at work actually listening to another podcast, and all of a sudden these dulcet tones came up, and I thought, fuck me, that's Cerys.
I had so many like I put it up on my Facebook because I thought people are going to hear it and go, and then literally every day I'd get somebody going, "Is that you on the?" Yeah. I did a post about it. Is that you? There's somebody that sounds like you. No, it's me. Is that you? Yeah. I only actually heard one of them. I
Oh,
heard
did you?
one of the very first ones, and then people kept messaging me going, "Oh, an aquarium." I'm like, I've got no idea what you're talking about. What are you talking about? So yeah, they run the 6 weeks on the run up to Christmas and New Year. So no, what they wanted was just 2 people just chatting as if they were round each other's houses as mates. Luckily for me and Josh, the other guy that was doing it with me, is that we knew each other.
Right.
They didn't know that. So
we
turned up.
Okay.
No, we turned up to record, and they're like, "Do you 2 know each other?" We're like, "Yeah, we're both comedians." And I know his kind of comedy. He knows mine. So of course, when he was going to say something, I knew exactly where he was going to go and could react accordingly. Whereas if it was people that didn't know each other, they'd go,
Yeah.
"What?"
Yeah. You
Whereas
sort of knew each other's vibe, kind
yeah,
of thing.
we properly sort of in tune together. So no, it's good.
It was funny because I was talking to somebody at work and we were talking about what podcasts we listen to and stuff, and it seems to be a trend for adverts these days where it is 2 mates chatting about whether they are going to go and get a Starbucks or going to go and get a sandwich or something.
Yeah.
And I was literally saying to him, I said, I fucking hate those kind of adverts. I said, they really piss me off because they try and pretend like they're 2 mates, but they're not. And then literally the following day, I thought, oh shit, Cerys is in one of those kind of adverts.
Right. Well, the interesting thing is, though, we had about 20 scripts.
Oh, right. Okay.
So we had 20 scripts.
Yeah.
And it got to the point, like we did our first like audition in theory, they were like, okay, let's just disregard the scripts, just see what you do together. And that's what it ended up being.
Right.
None of the stuff we did was scripted. There was
That's better,
nothing
though,
in there.
isn't it?
So it was basically him reacting to what I said, me reacting to what he said. And they sort of gave us, it needs to be to do with the lotto. So it needs to be, think this much money. It needs to be to the Euro Millions, think this much money. And that was basically the only sort of direction they gave us. So because they don't want that, we've got 2 actors pretending to be friends who've never met each other before. So I hope it sounded a bit less.
Oh yeah, it sounded like you 2 had been shagging. I mean, that's what it definitely sounded like. You were.
I mean, look, Joshy, he's lovely. He plays for he's a England football player, but for the disabled team because he's partially blind. Yeah, so he's in Tenerife at the moment playing football for them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. He's a good lad. So he's like there with the script.
Oh, is he?
I was like, I can't read it even if you wanted to. Let's just make it up.
Yeah, and like you said, then it'll sound more natural anyway, won't it?
Yeah.
If you're just like you're having a conversation.
I said it was perfect because we knew each other. That's why it worked. If we had put 2 strangers in a room, they would have had to revert back to the scripts, and then it is the same old shit.
I think that's why those other ones sort of piss me off because they sound like they're reading from a script, but they're trying to be mates, and it just doesn't ever work.
I think we were just lucky, basically.
Good. Right, so we're here to work out our top 10 comedians. Now I've gone for stand-up comedians. I don't know whether you've done the same because I didn't think about whether we should stipulate that. I mean,
no. See, the moment I tried to compile a list, I kept veering off into probably, I'd probably say they've all started as stand-up comedians,
Yeah,
probably bar one,
right.
but also probably more known for comedy acting and stuff. It just
Yeah,
it is what it is.
that's fine.
But
I think pretty much everybody.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I've got one that started the other way around, but he's famous for that anyway.
yeah.
Um, but Cerys, hit us up with your number 10 favorite comedian.
My number 10. Well, we're not going old. Well, we are kind of going old school, really. Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Now, I was talking to Cal about this earlier on. He thought I said Robbie Williams and got a little bit confused. I was like, it's two very different people. Robin Williams, what can you say?
Yeah.
The only thing is, I get upset is that what would he be doing now? That's the main
Yeah.
thing. But to me, as a comedian, it also makes me realise that we have got that very dark, depressive side to us that comes along with stuff, and we need to keep on top of that shit. It's such, and I'll say this, it's such a lonely job. We're essentially on our own at home when everybody's working. We travel to gigs on our own. We go in, we do our job, we go home on our own. We see people for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, if we're lucky. But yeah, I grew up with Robin Williams, like watching him on telly. Obviously, he started as a stand-up, but mainly you sort of saw him on Morecambe Mindy, and then he was on all your kids' films and stuff like that. But it was the obvious humour that was always there, the improvisation and the stuff like that, and such a deep character that none of us knew what was happening under the surface.
Yeah, and don't you think I mean, it's the same with actors and musicians. The really good ones have got that vein of pain going through their lives, and that's sort of, I think, what makes them. And I mean, I can imagine it's the same as like when I go out singing and I have a really good gig, you're high from it, and then you come home, and that's when the roller coaster starts, because you've got nobody to share that experience with. You've gone through that experience. You've probably had, and or I know you've had it, where you've had a room of people in the palm of your hand. You've literally been a god for like an hour, 2 hours, 15 minutes, whatever it is. You've got nowhere to go from there but down.
No. And then
So
you go back to like Manchester, you go back to your travel lodge next door to Manchester. You're in the damp room where there's water leaking all over the floor and the curtains don't close properly and there's no hot water. And then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've just entertained 250 people. They've been like, oh my God, on the way out. Oh my God, it's so great. We've come here especially to see you. Oh, this is great. And then you little toddle off to your travel lodge and back to reality.
Yeah. Yeah. It
we've all got
backstories,
and there's reasons we do the stuff that we do, and I think performance wise we're the ones that carry the most. Like any kind of performers, we're the ones that have got the dark stories, the backstories.
But then do you use that sometimes for your comedy?
Yeah, this is the thing, that because recently I'm like, I think I'm about ready to talk about Dad's cancer and dying, to the point where it's funny, because there's funny stories surrounding that, where my stepmom had packed so much into my dad's coffin, the funeral directors had to ring me up and go, we can't get the lid on. And I had to go down there, and I was taking out fucking picture frames. He had a watch in there, a torch, a pillow, like insane things. I'm like, I don't need any of this, bloody fucking idiot. But just things like that. And I know the last sort of few weeks, like we'd get like a visit around the house, and he'd be like within 10 sort of minutes of the visitor getting there, he'd be like, oh, I'm so tired, Cerys. And I was like, oh, he's so sorry, he's really tired, and really upset me. And the visitor would go, and Dad would be like, oh my God, they were so fucking boring, I had to pretend I was tired. And I'd be like, for fuck's sake. So it just, like, there was that humour to it, even though we knew he was going, and the way he'd sort of cope with it. So yeah, there's things like that up until this point I haven't been ready to do it. Now I am ready to do it. I've got to do it in a way where people are like, look, we've all lost people. We're all losing people. We're losing
Yeah.
people every day.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
now
yeah.
I'm like, right, come on, we need to be laughing about this, otherwise none of us are getting through anything.
No. That's a good point. That's a good
Yeah.
point. Okay, so that's your number 10. Neil did send me his top 10.
Did he?
I won't go through all of them. I'll just go when things are relevant. But his number 10 is the same as my number 10.
Oh, I thought you were saying something. Which is
Cerys Nelmes.
number 10.
Yeah. Hey, hang on. Think of all the ones that
Sorry,
we haven't.
the signal's going.
Think of all the ones that we haven't got in our
I
top
can't hear
10.
you. I'm going through a tunnel.
It was weird
Stop
because
it.
he sent me his, and I went, "That's weird." I said, "Because we've got the same number 1 and the same number 10."
Two guys.
And
Is your list
it's-
quite similar? Or is it just mainly those two?
No, I think we've got a couple in there that's similar, and then we've got, like I say, we've got the same number 1, but which will go together. So that. But it was weird because
thanks, guys.
Because I wrote all my, like, as I normally do, I write everyone that I can think of off the top of my list, off the top of my head, sorry, and then I put them in order. And although you didn't make it to my number 1, you were the first person on my list.
Aww.
Because I thought if there's going to be a 10, Cerys has to be in it because
she'll kick off.
No,
she knows where I live.
Not just because of the fact that you're lovely, but because you are funny, and it's not. I'm not blowing smoke up your backside as much as you might like me to. But that's a different podcast and a different video and a different channel.
Show.
We wouldn't we wouldn't get that on YouTube.
Done that show, haven't we?
I think we probably have. Well, we've shown some of the pictures, I think. Anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later, I think. But genuinely, I think even if I didn't know you and I was just watching your stuff on YouTube or TikTok or Facebook or wherever it was, I genuinely think that you're a great comedian. So
thanks, mate.
That's
Appreciate
all right.
it.
So
Thank
it was really
you.
weird. Like Neil brought it up, and I said to him, "You got the same number 10 as me. You're going to steal my thunder."
Yeah.
So yeah, and I know that Neil feels the same way. So there you go. And that you're the second person to have been in a top 10 as a guest. Tim Downey was there for Famous Moustaches. So although you were number 7 for our Famous Moustaches.
Well, there you go. There we go. I bet we're number 1 for the beard.
Oh yeah, oh god, and that's the question that we are. You know, that's the picture that we've all seen. I mean, which of course people on the WTAF, this country podcast, will know all about that. Again, we're good. I mean, this might be the longest podcast we've ever done, but just explain. That was one of the things that I think broke the ice and broke the water. For everybody that started to find out about you was that picture. So do you want to explain to our listeners about that picture?
I always used to do, like, I'm quite an open book, so everything that I've done in my life I kind of try and use. And
we can't wait for the book.
Yeah,
we can't
exactly,
wait for that
right?
book.
So do you know what? Every time I speak to somebody, they're like, "You should write a book." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. There'll be a book at one point. Do not worry." But yeah, as a lady giving birth, you're not going to see down the business end. So my mum was in there, as well as my the father of my child, and mum was the midwife was like, "Just take some photos because she's never going to see this happening." So I had a photo of obviously Cal exiting the old canal, and used to do it on stage and show people.
Absolutely did, yes. We had it up on the big screen and everything, didn't we? That one
I think that's probably the biggest place it's been. I did try and get it printed once on like a big like towel.
Oh really?
And they and even like a big birthday card, and it'd always come back going, "We can't print this." I'm like, "Oh, okay, just use my iPad then."
Yeah. Now the thing is, like on the YouTube version of the podcasts, whenever when you say Robin Williams, I will insert a photo of Robin Williams just for like 3 or 4 seconds to give context. I'm wondering whether to just slide the photo in now.
Yeah.
So, but then again, I mean, it'll either make it go viral or people will just cancel their subscriptions.
Did they see it? Did they not? Was it there?
Yes,
Who knows?
maybe I should put it in just for like half a second, like a split, subliminal message.
And they go,
it's a wonder to see, I must admit. Your brain can't quite work out what you're looking at to start with. What's the goal end and what's
always used to like just scroll in and make it a little bit wider, so to speak.
Okay. Anyway, you're number 9 then, Cerys. Give us your
number
number
9. Number 9 is good old, feels like a bit of a morbid list at the moment, Sean Hughes.
Oh, right, yeah.
So Irish comedian, British born
Yeah.
Irish comedian.
You're no longer with us, obviously, like you
No,
said.
I absolutely adored Sean's show, his TV show. Can you remember that?
Yes, I
It's
do.
Shawnee's show, la
Yeah.
la la la. It's Shawnee's show, do do do. Shawnee, Shawnee, Shawnee. Anyway, that I used to watch religiously, and then he bought out, because this doesn't even seem real now. I bought out a load of merchandise, so I had all like the merchandise, and there was a Sean's show book and all kinds of stuff that go with it. Like I'm sure there was household goods and things like that, and like he is one of the main reasons that I did comedy. He was like one of my comedy heroes when I was growing up. And my first year in Edinburgh, I got invited to this party and he was there, and I was like, oh my God, like this before I properly started doing comedy. Like I'd only been going like a few months. So I went over and spoke to him, and he spoke to me like a piece of shit.
Oh my God. You don't have much luck, do you? You
And I was
really
like,
don't.
I walked, like, he was just like, what do you want?
Really?
And I was like, oh my God, like, just a really big fan, just need to go over and speak to you, because if I didn't, I'd probably never have the chance again. And I was like,
Yeah.
he went, all right, away now.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
I
What is
walked
wrong
back
with
to
people?
I walked back to the guy I was with, who was an award-winning comedian, and he went, he's devastated you, hasn't he? I was like, yeah. And then it comes back, doesn't it? Never meet your heroes.
Yeah, yeah.
So then a few years later, we end up gigging together, and he is the nicest person ever. And I can only put it down to now as it was an industry party. He probably didn't, there was all kinds of people there. He didn't know who he was speaking to and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
then when he met me on like a level playing field, oh, she's emceeing the show tonight. Oh, there we go. And I didn't ever remind him of it, because I thought nobody needs reminding of shit like that.
No.
And he had one of his poetry books with him, so he signed that for me. And this was literally weeks before he died.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's those things, isn't it? Like we were saying earlier on about the darkness. Not everybody can be on all the time. You just got to catch these. But it is that thing of like, it's somebody that's your hero. You just want to.
And what I know as well, Pav, is coming through the ranks, without these people that support you and watch your TV shows and watch your comedy and buy your tickets, you wouldn't be where you are.
No, exactly.
So to then turn around and completely disregard that, and forget that without these little minions, you ain't got nothing.
No. And also the fact that you are going to go away from that and go, I used to like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it
changes
your opinion.
And it's a story I've told many times. And it's just, I don't know whether it then shapes me in the way that I am. So I'm not like that.
No.
Like I will speak to if somebody stops me, I'll speak to them.
Yeah.
And I'll chat to them for as long as they want to chat to, unless they're really creepy or have their cock in their hands, something like that in a park. Then I'm like, oh my God, let me take you home. No. Then I'm like, but no, it's for me, without these people, I only get a certain distance.
Yeah. And I'm sure that with how long you've been doing it now, that's not the only story of that, is there? I'm sure there are other comedians that you thought that their image is that they're lovely people, and then you meet them, and maybe you meet them on a bad day, or maybe they are just assholes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
I had a big one with Milliken.
Oh, really?
I'm always scared to talk about.
Really?
Yeah. At the time, I had people messaging me going, "This could end your career before you even start it."
No,
I can't talk about it because it fucking terrifies me now.
Well,
one day I'll talk about it.
Yeah. Well, perfect for the book.
Yes, exactly.
If Prince Harry can get away with slagging off the royal family, I'm sure.
God, can't bear it.
Warts and all, you could blow the comedy business out of the water, and
exactly.
All these comedians will be shitting their pants.
Exactly right. I've got shit on all of them, I tell you.
Oh dear me, it's crazy. Okay, my number 9 is somebody that went from being a comedian and comedic actor to a stand-up is Ricky Gervais. Now, maybe he should have been higher. I don't know. See, now the look on your face there. Now, oh my Lord, Cerys.
Do you know what?
Is it because he hasn't paid his dues? Is that why you're looking like that?
No. Do you know what it is? Is that I thought he was very clever, and especially with David Brent and stuff like that, until you realise that's just the same character he plays in everything. If you've watched Night of the Museum, it's David Brent in the museum, etc., etc. I've never seen him live, so this is what I will say as well. On the other side of that, everybody live is so much better than what you would ever see on TV.
Right.
So
yes.
Things like that. It upsets me when people are like, "Oh my God, I'm watching live at the Apollo. He's really shit." It's like, go and see him live, and if you still think they're shit, then walk away. But there's a difference between live comedy and what you're seeing on TV. Ricky, I loved. What's the one he did?
Derek.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. I must admit, look, I'm a big fan of The Office. I enjoy the American Office more than that. I think he is a little bit of a one-trick pony. I mean, being a podcaster, loved all his podcasts with Carl Pilkington and stuff like that. But I do feel his last comedy special that he did for Netflix seemed
Humanity?
very was it Humanity? I think it was Humanity. Yeah, was very run of the mill, and he regurgitated a lot of old stuff from the podcasts. So anybody that hasn't listened to the podcast will think it's all new material. There was a couple of jokes in there. I thought, Jesus, you were saying that 10 years ago.
Yeah,
and that's a bit of a shame. I went and saw him live. I can't remember, a few years ago now, and he is good. There are some great jokes, and the way he performs it is great. I do, as you are a proper professional comedian, I wonder what people like yourself thought of him, because obviously he was famous. Then he decided that stand-up was his first love, but he hasn't treaded the boards and stayed at a travel lodge where the water is dripping down. Do you know what I mean? He's stepped into being a headliner right from the very start. This
is the thing you'll find, is they all come back to stand-up because they know, oh, well, hang on a minute, I'm doing that on TV, but look, I'm not going to say the name because he's on my list. They all come back because the money's there.
Yeah.
So they can sell arenas in seconds, make a quick buck based on what they were doing 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Only problem being now is that they're not stepping up enough to carry that on for much longer.
No. But then obviously if Netflix are making money out of it, they're going to keep paying for Netflix specials and stuff like that. But
there'll always be people that watch it, and that's the way in. They see it coming back into stand-up is a way of making money quickly.
Yeah.
It's not got any of the production that you'd need to do a comedy show and a sitcom and stuff like that. It's just you, 1 hour special, boom, money.
Yeah.
Set up a tour on the back of that.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. Okay. God, this is going to get juicy. I feel this is going to get juicy. Okay, your number 8 then, please, Cerys.
Goes without saying, the lovely Victoria Wood. It is a fucking morbid list. Hang on. 3 of mine are dead. Yeah. Hang on, let me check. The rest of them are alive. So I've got the dead ones out of the way.
You got the dead ones out of the way, yeah. I mean, Deadwood, if you want to call it, yeah. Oh, sorry. Is that too soon? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, just her and Julie Waters in stuff back in the day.
Yeah. Acorn Antiques.
Just
fantastic.
Amazing. And again, one of these ones that you're like, I wonder what, in a way, sometimes it feels better that she's gone, because I like the fact that her legacy lives on now, rather than when you see the likes of somebody else trying to come back.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not mentioning names.
No.
Where they've done stuff that I really loved back in the day, and then now they're doing stuff, and you're like, oh, it's not working. It's not working. Well, just an example, bloody Walliams and Matt Lucas, isn't it? Yeah. Back in the day, we all loved Little Britain. Anything they've tried since, horrific.
It's just not the same.
James Corden and Matthew Horn. We all loved them in Gavin and Stacey, put them into presenting something, and we were like, well, what the heck is this god awful stuff?
Yeah.
So there's a time and a place. So sometimes you're like, did she have a time and it was brilliant, and she's gone out on a high, and that's great for us all. I just wondered, there was just genius there, and she could have done so much more.
Yeah, I think also she'd have been a character in Harry Potter as well.
Oh,
I've got a feeling she would have been something. She'd have been one of
we
the
got to think
teachers
anything that Julie Waters had done, isn't it? Would have been there would have been an
exactly
for Victoria.
Exactly. But yeah, very multi-talented, like musician and comedian, and like I say, Acorn Antiques was just it was like I'd watch it. I wasn't a big Victoria Wood fan, but I would watch the show. What was it? Wood on TV or I can't remember what it was called now. Was it just Victoria Wood on TV? Something like that.
It was some. It was.
I would watch the whole half hour just to watch the Acorn Antiques bit because it was just hilarious. It was just fantastic.
It's just a shame. As seen on TV, was it?
As seen on TV. That's right. Well done.
Yes.
Yeah. My number 8 is Al Murray, but as the pub landlord. I've been a fan. I mean, I think he still does it, doesn't he? I think he still does it.
Yeah. Oh,
I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen him a couple of times live. The one thing about him is the character's very funny. I don't know whether it's not obviously not PC, which is part of the joy of it, is the fact that he's saying stuff that, you know, you say in the normal world you're going to get cancelled or whatever. But you also learn a lot as well. There's a lot about like the British Empire and all of that kind of stuff because he is so knowledgeable about history and wartime history and stuff like that. Just as a person, he's got a really good podcast. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's all about like wartime and the Second World War and stuff like that. But Al Murray, he had a fantastic sitcom called Time Gentlemen Please, which was on Sky in the mid-90s, I think.
We have ways of making you talk.
There you go. We have ways of making you talk. That's right. But the pub landlord character had its own sitcom, which was co-written with Richard Herring, and it was really good. But it never got the plaudits or recognition that it should have done. And I can remember when we went to the Wyvern, I think it was in Swindon, and there was a lot of people, and I was talking to somebody saying, yeah, I haven't ever seen him live, but I've watched Time Gentlemen Please, and he went, that's shit compared to, like, exactly what you said, compared to seeing him live. He said that TV show is shit, and I went, all right, okay. And I love the TV show, but watching him live was a completely different experience. But he is so bombastic and does the sort of stuff you do where he's talking to people. That was the question I was going to ask you, because he does it as well. He'll talk to somebody and then half an hour later we'll go back and talk to that same person. I'm terrible at remembering names. You must have a gift as well for like remembering. You'll talk to someone and go, hello, Deirdre. I don't know why I chose Deirdre.
Yeah.
But then you've got to remember. But you've got to remember that name.
Yeah.
Is that just something that you've trained yourself for that?
Yeah. Sometimes you could just have that night where it doesn't matter how many times I could ask the woman her name and it's just gone. Right. And I'll ask it again and it's gone. And just sometimes like that, I just cannot remember. But I'd say a lot of that is because of my age and because of menopause and shit like that, which is that's the upsetting thing for me, because there was a few months where I was properly panicking about it. But you got to think as well, I base it on the fact that there's other comedians that will also want to come on and direct something at somebody else. So unless I do that and go, oh, Matt, what do you do? And then say the comedian comes on and he wanted to pick on somebody. He's like, oh, Matt, you're 23. You know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? So also pays it back to the other comedians and they take on board. Or if somebody turns up halfway through a night and goes, who do I need to know about in the audience? And I'm like, well, Matt, he's 23, sat in the front with his mum, and Deirdre, she's over there, she's on a head and do. So it's passing sort of information along. But that's my favourite thing to do, because people then think that they're part, not only are they part of the show, but it's specifically tailored to that night.
Right.
Because you're involving the people that are there. It's not generic people that could be in any audience. It is Deirdre, it is Matt, it's the people that sat in front of you, and they love it when you go back, you remember something, and do callbacks throughout the night. I love that. I love it. It's my favourite thing.
That's the job of an MC then, is to sort of to give tips to the other comedians and stuff.
I would say, yeah. I said the amount of times people come out and go, is there any, like, what's the average age, or where's the like majority of people live? Are they locals? So things like that is you're sort of gleaning information that if somebody does want to talk about anything, they've got a few people to pick on. They know the average age of the room. They know who the youngest in the room is. They know sort of roughly who people are with and what's going on. So if they've got material that they can relate to them, they'll listen. If they're a good comedian, they'll be listening and they'll come on and do it. It's like me, if I'm ever doing a set, I will watch the whole night. If I'm headlining, whatever, I will get there. I watch the whole night because I want to know who's been spoken to, who I can relate stuff to, who I can pick on, who's up for a laugh, who's been a twat all the way through that I can riff with. So yeah, mine's purely, I will observe constantly throughout the night.
Right, there you go. Yeah, I couldn't. I'm shit at it. Someone tells me their name and then 10 minutes later I forget who it is, and and I haven't got. I don't think I'm going through the menopause. I might be.
You might be. I said that's the most terrifying thing for me is if I lost that. So sometimes if I'm having a bad night or whatever, I'll come off. I'm either recording it so I can go back and, if I need to, look back at the names, or I come off straight away and write down in my little notes who I need to remember. And more often than not, I never look back at those notes because by that point they're already in anyway.
Right.
But they're just there. If I'm just about to go on stage, I go, oh God, what was this? I got it there. But it's very rare that you use it.
Okay. Lovely. Okay then, your number 7 then, please, Cerys.
Oh, I don't know whether you've heard of him, Peter Kay.
Oh, that's my number 2.
Is it?
That's my number 2.
This is what I was going to reference him, wasn't I? Saying how they come back to stand up to make the money.
Right.
The amount of money he has made from this tour is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we all know I had tickets booked for the last tour. Whatever happened. So we believe it was him. We believe he had leukemia.
Is that what it?
Yeah.
Oh,
because at the time, I, as a punter and a comedian, I'm like, we knew it was illness. So I was like, if it is a member of the family, there's no reason he would not go ahead with this to make sure that the family were financially stable.
Yeah.
So if it was one of the kids or his wife or whatever, the best thing to do would be to carry on with the tour so they've got a big sum of money coming in.
Yeah.
So the only reason he wouldn't go ahead with the tour is if it was him.
Right.
And
it's weird because I remember at that time somebody sent me a message and said, I've heard that Peter Kay has died. And I thought that's weird. And then I think it was the following day or the day after it said that he'd cancelled the tour. Because I thought, right, well, it's going to be on the news if something as big as that has happened. But then it makes sense that if,
So that's what we all thought it was. So he's obviously, and obviously we can see there's a difference in him now.
Yeah.
What he was. That's an obvious visual thing straight away. So I'm glad he's back. Am I going to watch the tour? No, because it's a massive tour and I can't think that far ahead. And then what I've seen of it, it's almost like he hasn't progressed.
No.
So have you seen the bit where he's going up in this? He's on the air balloon singing.
Yeah.
Finger of fudge is Justin.
Yeah.
We've heard that before.
Yeah.
Miles a day helps you work. We've heard that before.
Yeah.
And then obviously there was the clip the other day where he got shitty with a heckler and got them thrown out, which made everybody feel a bit awkward.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Normally he handles hecklers pretty good, doesn't
front row, he basically got him thrown out, but it was a very awkward sort of 5-10 minutes.
Oh, really? No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about him is his shtick with the stand-up has always been, do you remember these things from your childhood?
And that's what I love.
Yeah. Because straight away, and like even when they cut to the crowd and the crowd would go, I remember that, or you used to do that, whatever the joke is. That's
my ultimate favourite thing about Peter Kay is it was the relatable content that in theory you don't really think about until somebody says it, and you're
No.
like the landing light, fucking landing
Yeah.
light. Let's put
Yeah.
the landing light on.
Yeah. Yeah. Put the
Yeah,
big light
that's
on.
that, and
The one that
very
still,
rarely, not rude stuff,
no,
not stuff, just innocent, family friendly.
no.
You could all sit around the telly at Christmas or wherever, whenever he was on, and just watch it together.
Yeah, he might slip an F word in, and then he's blue, Alan. He's blue. He's blue. The one thing, as when I'm doing my singing, the one thing that always gets me is when somebody walks past, they do that walk to the dance floor dance, because they'll see that I'm singing and they think that they have to somehow do some
Yeah,
kind of little dance while they're walking past, going to the toilet or going to the bar. Doesn't mean anything. You don't have to do that, mate. But it always reminds me of that. And also the
running for the
dad,
bus.
the dad running. Yeah. There's just so many bits that make you go, I've seen that, or I've done that myself, or a member of the family have done that.
Of course.
But
And
as a writer and a director, and like the Car Share, I thought was great, and
yeah,
Phoenix Nights and Max and Paddy and all that stuff.
that's
It's
it.
just fantastic, absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic. But I do feel, because there were, I can't remember what the last time that he was at the O2, which you can see on YouTube. There were bits of it that you thought, well, that is just a little bit of the same sort of stuff that you said before, and
yeah,
even like cheesecake and garlic bread then became plasma, and it just
yeah. I've
adding
seen a
bits of
couple
that.
of clips, and I haven't been blown away, but I still love him.
Yeah,
But that goes back to what I said. There's a way of making a shit ton of money very quickly,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he's cornered that market.
yeah.
So instead of working on a script and filming and production, he's essentially, for whatever reason he needs, he's created that to get that money.
And I think it's the same as these rock stars now, or pop stars
Of
doing
course.
a residency in Vegas,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's like, instead of you touring around, you stay in one place and everybody comes to you, and you still do
perfect.
the same thing.
Exactly. Get
I
shit
mean, I
loads of
think
money.
everybody would do it, wouldn't they, if they had
Yeah, yeah. Of
that
course.
chance?
Of course.
But
Of
okay,
course.
my number 7 is someone that I did see at the Wyvern. I think it was one of those things where he was testing out material years ago. Is Lee Evans. Now, apart from the fact that you will never see somebody sweat
Wet.
as much as that man, I thought when we watched him that he had like this two-tone coloured suit on, where it was like light grey at the front and dark grey at the back, until I realised that it was just sweat.
Yeah.
But there's somebody, I mean, I don't think he
I
does it
remember
anymore, does
his.
he?
I remember him just having, like, when he'd be holding the microphone, just a stream of water just coming off his elbow.
Yeah, yeah, it is crazy.
He nearly
But
made my list.
he
Nearly.
nearly.
I worked on his film Funny Bones. I
Oh,
just
did
did
you?
voice. Oh, it was when I was at college doing performing arts. They were like, "Oh, we're going to go down to Teddington Studios. We're going to do a voiceover for a film," and it just happened to be Lee Evans's film. And then I worked on the motorway services, and he came in one day, and I was like, "Oh, I did a voiceover on your Funny Bones film," and he's like, "Oh my god!" But I've never seen him live. Not seen him because he's come back as well
Yeah,
momentarily.
oh, right. I thought he'd stopped. I thought he'd
No, he
finished.
came. He definitely was. Definitely. Let me have a look. He definitely came back momentarily
Right.
in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
because it's a way
It's
of
an
making
easy way
money.
of, yeah, yeah. And the thing is, they've got a built-in fan base now, haven't they? A lot of these ones, that so people will, especially if you said that that's it, I'm not going to do any more.
Yeah,
As soon as you announce you're going to do 10 dates, they're just going to sell out. They're just, I would go and see him again. I thought he's that kind of thing where it's 1 minute it's observational comedy, then it's just the physical stuff that he
oh
does.
yeah, yeah.
It's just like Mouse Hunt. I think that movie Mouse Hunt, he's fantastic in that.
This is the thing. We haven't got a lot of physical comedians out there.
No.
There's a guy on the circuit called Jack Leto, and every time I see him, I'm like, he's old school physicality that we haven't got anymore, and I love him. He sort of does really sort of like just things outside the box, and it's just unique. And I was like, you need to keep doing that because we've lost this kind of like thread in comedy.
Yeah, I don't know where you stand on like the comedians. I mean, like, I don't want you to. It feels like all we've done is slag people off.
Because I'm a very horrible person. I've got no fucking
No,
happiness in this
I
body.
I don't believe you at all. I don't believe you're not a nasty person. You're a lovely person. But the one thing I will say, not having a dog in the hunt, if you like. I find that a lot of the comedians today are very. I wouldn't know one of them from another.
This is the
James
it was
Acaster, Ed
yeah,
Gamble, whatever they are. If you showed me a picture, I wouldn't know which one of those was which.
yeah, it's a really interesting thing. So obviously, it's a quite a young white man's game,
Yeah,
and like you got to think now. Even though I've won the award and whatever else, I still can't get a comedy agent. So I still
no,
haven't got an agent. So I'm not going to get on telly until I've got that agent. And very much overpopulated with the white male comedian. And then on the back of that, it's now a tick box exercise. So it's ethnicity and sexuality, except like gender fluidity and all kinds of that things. Instead of just like, oh, she's really funny, let's get her on television. My friend, great friend of mine, Stephen Bailey, who's an absolutely fantastic comic, a gay comic. Of course, he's told, well, we've already got Joe Lycett and Tom Allen. We don't need another one of you.
oh,
And yet he's brilliant. So
yeah,
he's head and shoulders above a lot of the other comedians. And yet he was told recently that on this lineup in the Comedy Store last week, he would be the second from last that they would sign as an agent. The last one being an older white male comedian. So as far as they're concerned, that older white male comedian they've got no use for anymore. Stephen, because he's the third gay in the gay comedian community, we don't need that. Oh, we want the black lesbian, the Muslim bloke, and the young female gender fluid. Even though Stephen was the funniest on the bill, and they told him that, they're like, it's just not what we can sign,
yeah.
not what we can put on telly.
Because
So it's
I
silly.
mean, there's a lot of them that I switch off from now, and it's the fact that um, I don't want to be nasty to people because I don't want to be like that. But how does Josh Widdicombe get all this work? For me, he's somebody that just has, even when it's a photo, there's no personality in the photo.
No.
And I watch and I think, and I'll see, oh, there's a new TV show and it's so and Josh Widdicombe, or it's Romus Ranganathan and somebody, and I think, how are they all getting just all of this work?
Because
It's
this is
not
what we say.
fair.
This is what we say though, is that we moan about that until we get signed, and then we
And
get
you're
all that
it,
work. And then
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, give me all the work. Give me
I
all the
can
work.
understand that. I can
But
understand that.
like you said, you're watching it and you're like, oh my God, like we have got so many fantastic comedians in this country,
Yeah,
and we are not using them the right. And the problem we've got now, Pav, as well, is that a lot of TikTokers and YouTube comedians are being signed. So because they've got thousands and
yeah,
thousands of followers,
and that's what
millions
it's
of
all about.
likes, they haven't done the time through the clubs. They're not ready. So then they get launched onto TV and they haven't got the sort of work ethic behind them to understand what's going on. And then obviously public are watching going, well, this is shit. Oh, this, and then we lose those kind of people from comedy audiences.
Yeah,
It's a real, it's got to the point now, mate. I'm like, I'm gonna have to do something for myself in order to get this, because nobody's gonna help me to get there.
mm,
So that's just the way. I'll probably end up opening my own agency at one point, like further on down the line, and sign people like me that couldn't get signed that I know are absolutely brilliant.
yeah.
But
And that's the sad thing. It ends up not being about talent, does it?
no,
That's the thing.
that's it. It should just be, my God, that person's funny. I
Yeah,
want them one day, all these big agents, I want them one day to turn around and go, where has this girl been like for the last 10 years?
yeah,
Why haven't we signed her? And I want somebody to turn around and go, oh, she sent us 72 emails over the last 5 years. We didn't even reply to one.
yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the amount of times when Neil and I have been talking about stuff, and we were saying with all the shit that's on TV, and the people, I said, again, not blowing smoke up your ass, but Cerys could do that.
Yeah.
Cerys could do that.
People
Cerys could
think
do that.
not every mate. I sit here all the time going, I could have done that.
Yeah.
That could have been me.
Yeah,
Carl like laughs, but it's like the audiences aren't young; they're our age. We're the
exactly.
people with money to go out and spend on tickets
Yeah,
and going to see stuff.
yeah,
We're the ones with the life experience. I myself don't want to see a 20-year-old boy talking about university halls. Not fucking interested, mate. I
No.
also don't want to see people talking about politics because, as far as I'm concerned, there's a time and place for it. I don't want to hear about it. Let's just fucking have something funny, something
Exactly.
light to bloody laugh about. So
Exactly.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to break down that barrier. I'm telling you.
And so you should. So you should. Go on then, Cerys. Give us your number 6.
Adam Sandler.
Okay, right. That's interesting.
Why is it interesting?
I can't stand him.
Oh, do you know what? If ever there's a new Adam Sandler film out, I need to watch it. I bloody love it.
Really?
I just love every film he's done recently. I've just loved every single one.
Okay.
I just find him. I would absolutely adore to work with him. Like I would sell my son. I'd sell Callum to work with him.
Would you?
Yeah, I just love him. Just love him.
I don't know what it is. 50 First Dates was my favourite film of his. I don't
Yeah.
really see, and I haven't seen. Wasn't he Saturday? He was on Saturday Night Live, wasn't he? Didn't he start on Saturday Night Live and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But
So you got to think with Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Waterboy, Wedding Singer, Big Daddy, Mr. D's, 51st Dates, The Longest Yard. There was one on, what was his name? What was the? He was a cobbler.
Oh God!
It's not Sandy Wexler. That was the agent. Sorry, Cal's just pipping
That's
in.
all right. Don't worry.
Sandy
Hiya,
Wexler.
Cal.
Have you seen that? Where
No.
he plays like an agent, like a entertainment agent.
No, I haven't seen that one.
So
What was the one? What was the one?
The Cobbler.
What was the one not long ago that he got a lot of good plaudits for?
Hubie Halloween?
No,
No,
definitely not that one. No, I saw a bit of that one. That one was terrible.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
See,
I haven't
you're
seen
saying
it
it's terrible.
yet.
I loved it. I loved Hubie Halloween.
It's like, and what was it? The Grown Ups movie. They
Yeah, it
just
was.
seem to
Like,
me. They
three of
seem to
them,
me
isn't
like, oh, like someone's going to give us loads of money. Let's get all our mates together and let's just have a fucking
I
laugh.
can't remember the cobbler one, right? But I like how he can do the funny bit. This cobbler one's like just a sad tale about, I can't remember. I'll Google it. I can't remember. Oh, there you go. Hang on, here we go. Here we go. No, it's not there. Why is it not there?
This is awesome audio, by the way. Just keep.
Thanks,
You just keep going. Go on.
What, that bit there?
So what?
Yeah,
what are you
Uncut
looking
Gems.
for? The name of the movie?
Yeah, it was on.
The Cobbler one. Are we sure it's not just called The Cobbler?
Was it? Have you found it, or am I making it up? Is it called The Cobbler? It is called The Cobbler.
Is it called The Cobbler?
That was my favourite. But that's not even in his. That's not even in his filmography.
Are you sure?
Right? Yeah. Well, on
IMDb.
Wiki. Well, no, I'm on. Yeah, Soz.
Yeah.
Soz. Yeah, The Cobbler.
The Cobbler.
The Cobbler, and it's just him being a cobbler in New York City, and it's quite sad, and he's quite sort of depressed, and so a cobbler, bored of his everyday life, stumbles upon a magical heirloom that allows him to become other people to see the world in a different way. I mean, what's that? I don't think that. And Sandy Wexler was good as well. So he plays this fucking washed up. Where is it? Here we go.
Oh, he's an agent, wasn't he? Like a washed up.
Yeah,
agent
like a
something.
washed up agent, talent manager working in Los Angeles in the 1990s, diligently representing a group of eccentric clients on the fringes of show business. But yeah, Jennifer Hudson was in that. Quite a few people in that. But yeah, I like those sort of off the wall things, and I can watch him in every film, and I just love it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
What, isn't it?
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
We're all different, aren't we?
We're all indeed.
If we were all the same, nobody would be on telly.
Indeed, that's right. Okay, my number 6. There isn't really a reason to have this man. He should be in every top 10. If we do top 10 vegetables, that's probably horrible. He should be in it. It's Steve Martin. Steve Martin. That wasn't very good.
No, I thought you were going to say Stephen Hawking. Steve Martin, yeah.
And the crowd go wild, yeah. Yeah, Steve Martin. Of course, he it did stand up at the very start. I can remember that they had a video of him from 1977, I think it was, live with his white suit on and the bunny ears and the arrow through the head and doing fun balloon animals and playing in front of like, I think it was 20,000 people. And it was ridiculous because he would try and say a joke, but the crowd would be cheering before he got to the punchline.
Really?
But it's like he's just totally manic. The
Yeah.
writing is fantastic. The one thing that Steve Martin is writing is just always clever, funny, stupid, all at the same time, you know, and it embodies what Steve Martin was all about. So if you ever get a chance, I think it's actually on YouTube for our Patreon subscribers. If the whole video is on there, I'll put it on the video playlist for this episode.
I'll have a look. Like when you think like that now, is there somebody that's similar to him this day and age?
No, I don't think there is.
This is it. This is what I worry about, that we loop with. That's why when see some comedians are like, oh, I can't stand these tribute acts, and I'm like, if I can't understand tribute acts of comedians we've still got, but I think we need tribute acts of comedians that we've lost. Otherwise, how is that comedy ever going to carry on? How are people going to see, like, with the likes of...
Is that a thing? Is
what?
there tribute acts for comedians?
Yeah, like there's Peter Kay tribute acts out there and ridiculous things like that.
There's not.
Yeah. That I don't agree with. But like that, if Steve Martin was to go, and then there's going to be people that are never going to see that similar sort of comedy ever again. There's obviously what's his name, Frankie Howard and stuff like that. There's people that do a lot of stuff.
I didn't realize. I mean, it makes perfect sense, but I didn't realize that there were tribute acts out for comedians.
You go on a cruise ship,
right?
And you'll find somebody recycling somebody's material.
But is it somebody being a Frankie Howard?
No, not on a cruise ship.
Or is it somebody
no.
Right? But is it somebody that is just doing their material?
They're just ripping their material.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my lord!
So I prefer somebody. There's a guy, a lad that's sort of based down in Plymouth. He does, I don't know. It's a story where he changes hats.
Right.
And that's a well-known, famous one. I don't know whether it's Frankie
Tommy
Howard.
Cooper?
Yeah, it might be Tommy Cooper. Yeah, yes. So he does it, but he says this is a Tommy Cooper skit, but it's what me and my dad used to do together.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I had never seen that, and I think it's brilliant. And I think without people like that carrying it on, but at least he acknowledges it. It's not mine.
That's
Tommy Cooper's.
Yeah.
But here it is, and he's obviously got to put his own spin on it and have some comedy bones himself and able to do it.
Yeah.
So things like that I like, but people just doing stuff and pretending it's their own.
No. I mean, I think it's definitely a thing of the time, Steve Martin's. But like you say, it's weird how I go. My comedians, I've got people that I've got one-liner people that are just say ridiculous things, and then people that are just do ridiculous things, and I love that kind of comedy. It's very sort of, some of it's a little bit, so you can sort of say is Monty Python kind, where some people are going to love it and some people are going to think, well, that's just stupid. And seeing Steve Martin make a fun balloon animal and then stick it to his lip and say that this is syphilis and then this is herpes, sticks it on his lip and hello, Mr. Johnson, I've come to pick up Sally, and it's just ridiculous. But it's so funny. Yeah.
That's it. We haven't got that anymore. Got it.
No. Come on, Cerys. Start making fun balloon animals on stage.
I will. I'll try my best.
Okay. Right, your number 5 then, please.
Got to go for the old local talent, Russell Howard.
Okay.
Purely because I want to be on the Russell Howard Hour.
Okay.
So if he's listening to this,
I'm sure he is.
Obviously, his wife is called Cerys as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we found that on out very early on when I did an open spot, and he was on, and he said, "What's your name?" I was like, "Cerys." He was like, "That's my girlfriend's name." I was like, "No way!"
Oh.
Yeah.
So is he Bristol? Is he Bristol?
He was, yeah. Bristol sort of based. There was all of them together, wasn't it? Was born in Bath, but Bristol, him, John Richardson, John Robbins, all that sort of group grew up together in Bristol, doing all the student gigs and whatever else. And the fact is, he's still flying the flag for Bristol. doing his thing. His sister's a comedian and actress as well, which I love. And obviously we all love his dodgy eye.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it
hang
was
on,
his,
he
was
won
it,
Best Compere at the Chortle Awards in 2006, and obviously we share sort of a similar award as
there you
well.
go. There you go. See, it was his dad, Frankie Howard.
No,
Ah,
that was his
right.
uncle.
That was his uncle. So he's got
Dave.
that. He's got
Dave
that.
was his dad.
Oh, was it? You've got
Dave
all the
Howard.
info, Dave Howard. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to admit he is one of those ones that I sort of put in with all the other ones. Is like I've
Yeah.
never really watched any of his stuff, and I think, like you said, that it turns you off from watching comedians because there's so many that are sort of the same. No disrespect to them, and I respect what they do, and the fact that they are successful is fantastic. There's also the fact that you see that they've all got podcasts and stuff like that now, and as a podcaster, it just clogs up the fact that there's, another comedian with another podcast coming out. And are you
People
doing a
always ask
podcast?
me. Yeah, I knew you get that.
Are you
People
going
always
to do
ask
one?
me. I'm like,
So why are you not doing a podcast? That to me seems an obvious thing to do.
because of what you just said, it just seems oversaturated. Like somebody asked me, I've been asked somebody asked me very recently, and I said, and he lives up in Telford. I was like, mate, first and foremost, you need to be able, like, it needs to be filmed, and you need to have all the video and shit these days to go along with it. So unless you live relatively nearby, it's not really going to be a thing. I'd probably do one with Cal. Is if I was going to do one, it would be me and him, and it would be like a mum son sort of thing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you do that?
I said, Cal, why would we do it? Why are we not doing a podcast? He doesn't know. He doesn't speak. That's why he doesn't speak. I'm just talking to myself. He's not. I haven't even got a son. What are we talking about?
It's all in your imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you should. If everyone's doing it, Cerys, you might as well do it. Get and do
it. We're in Australia for a month, so maybe we would do a little bit of like a blog and shit over there, or vlog while we're right there. Yeah. See what goes on.
I think you should. If you need any help, just let us know.
Oh, well, as if I don't know anybody that does it's like podcast experts. Yes, I do.
Okay, my number 5, talking about ridiculousness and stupidness, and somebody that has been successful in TV as well, as Harry Hill. Now,
how's that?
I can remember like seeing pictures of him when he first started and thought, this guy just looks ridiculous with the big collar and the loafers, the brothel creepers and the suit and
short trousers.
And then I watched Hooves, I think was the DVD, the live DVD, and I didn't stop laughing all the way through it. And he does a lot which somebody very high up in my top 10 does as well. He'll start a thread, go off on these stupid tangents, and then at the end bring it back to that original joke that you've forgotten about. And that, I love that kind of comedy. That kind of comedy where you just leave that little thing, just flitter in there for 10-15 minutes and make you laugh about something completely different, and then bring it in with maybe 1 or 2 lines. And just like, seal the package. It is fantastic. But he is ridiculous.
Also makes you aware of how much people are listening.
Yes.
So you're then like, you were all on board. Yeah. And you've all taken that for 15 minutes, listened to whatever other shit I've had to say, and you're still there at the end.
Yeah. And then just ridiculous things like just popping in things like, oh, look at the lining or stuff like that. And the little, I can't remember what they are now, but he do like little rhymes that make no sense. And
well, still to this day, if somebody's like, oh my God, there's like Prince Harry and there's Prince William, but who would win in a fight?
And I'm sure we might find that out before too long.
God,
the way things are going.
Is he doing something? Is he doing something else? Because he was on Sunday Brunch the other week, so I can only assume is it his TV show coming back or something?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it TV Burp or?
I think he had another one on, didn't he? I can't remember what it was. I haven't really kept up with.
He was definitely on. He was on Sunday Brunch last week. I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh, right.
Still got his big collar on.
That's the
thing as well. He hasn't changed that. He's very recognisable as Harry Hill. And then, to be honest, there was a guy I gigged with about 6 or 7 years ago. Basically, ripped him off, and he came off stage. I was like, "You do realise you're doing Harry Hill's voice, you're wearing pretty much what Harry Hill wears. You're not Harry
Yeah.
Hill.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Haven't seen him since.
Really? Really? I was very excited. I think it was during shutdown or lockdown, as they called it, that he did a podcast. He had a podcast, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be like really interesting to listen to it. Put it on, and it was basically, it was a podcast that could last for as long as it happened, and it was just him in his office working. So it was just the sound. There was complete silence.
No.
Until there would be one word, and then that would be the end of the podcast. So he just kept press record, and then would be tapping away or writing, or you could hear paper fluttering, and it could go on for half an hour. It could go on for like 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden there would be just some stupid word.
That's
ergonomic.
hilarious.
And then that would be it. And then it would stop.
Hilarious.
But the trouble is like the idea was really funny, but when you're actually listening to it, you're thinking, I've got like, because you could see how long the podcast episode was going to be. I thought I've got 45 more minutes of this shit. I don't think I didn't listen to very many episodes, but it's typical
really,
Harry Hill.
Exactly, which is good. It's what it is, isn't it? Junior Bake Off is coming back, and he's on that. I knew there was something. There must have been something in the pipeline.
If there's anybody that is going to be able to portray children cooking, it's Harry Hill.
Exactly.
I mean, you could do that.
The craziness of it all.
You could do
that. Say, what was it? Who's dropped out? Matt Lucas, isn't it?
Yes, there you go.
Bake.
There you go.
Love that Noel Fielding as well. That I could work with him.
MC of the year 2023 or 2022.
2022, yeah.
Yeah, so,
I got to use it for something.
I mean, Christ, you just write the checks out, surely. Anyway, Cerys, your number 4, please.
Still staying with the theme that I was just on, the old Stephen Merchant.
Oh, right, okay.
See, it's all gone sort of a bit sort of comedy actor. But saying that, I was with him at this comedy store in London last night where he was doing stand-up. So,
really? Has he gone back to doing that, has he? Because I know he had that Hello Ladies tour that he did.
That's it. That's what he brought up last night. Is the last time he was on tour was when he was looking for a partner. Obviously, since found one, he's been with her for 6 years. So he said that's the last time he went out on tour. So again, he's another one that's coming back to stand up because it's the grassroots of stuff. It's where you're finding out what's working, what's not.
Yeah.
And it was new material night at the store last night. And yeah, he was brilliant. We loved him. Like, what I love as well is that like these people are paying like not very much to get in, and then you got Stephen Merchant coming on. They absolutely bloody loved it.
I bet
loved it.
I bet
yeah, no, he was,
and he hasn't really changed his. He's not tried to like soften his accent or anything in all the things that he's done, has he?
No, that's what I love, and that's why I want to work with him. Because the Outlaw. Did you watch the Outlaws?
I watched the first series. I haven't seen the second series yet.
See, I thought it was absolutely superb. I love that. I should have been in it. He wanted Bristolian comedians to be in it.
Okay.
He asked around, and so many people put a name forward, but there's a guy on the circuit that's my Me Too that's stopping me from progressing in some areas, which
really
is a good friend of the Russell Howards and the John Richardsons back in the day, which they're all distancing themselves from. But he's if he hadn't have stood in the way, I would have probably been on it. So we had a bit of a chat about it last night. So hopefully going forward, he'll realise that I'm a good addition to any Bristolian sort of sitcom.
Right. Is there going to be a series 3 of that?
I don't know, because I was in series 2, but only background, and they were filmed consecutively.
That's right. Yeah.
So we were already filming series 2 before series 1 had come out, and we were in the prison scene. So we must have been a prison around near Siren or somewhere. Around, I don't know. Can't remember now. Yeah, so I'd imagine there would be. I haven't watched series 2 either yet. I've got it on the Sky Plus ready to go, so I don't know how it ends, but just things like that. I mean, you had bloody who was in it?
Christopher Walken was in
it.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, they loved him last night. I just think he's got a lot he mentioned Ricky Gervais, and he said, imagine like turning up thinking somebody's going to be from the office, and it's not him, it's me. We're like, no, he was great. He had
Oh, good.
they loved him last night. I just love it. I just love the accent.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Give
Okay.
me a job, Stephen Merchant.
Yes. My number 4. Now, it's going to be interesting on what your view on this person is, because this is somebody that got cancelled and then has slowly come back. Yes, Louis C.K. He's one of those guys. I mean, he does things that people sort of frown on, but he also says like the most ridiculous stuff. But I find that he's really funny. Now, obviously, he got cancelled for. Now, if I'm right, he was masturbating in front of people, but he apparently he asked if it was okay to masturbate in front of them. I don't think it was like just a whim thing. He was, if I got that right, I'm not sure 100%.
Yeah,
I wasn't there.
It's just such a weird thing, because if you're in that situation, what are you supposed to say? No.
Yeah.
It's,
I don't know, because it was people that he was friends with, wasn't it?
well, was it? Or was it female? It's going to be female. It's going to be female comedians, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming like one of the
It's not
ones I
really
heard
male
was like
comedians.
Sarah Silverman, and it
Yeah.
was sort of almost like, well, you go on, just get on with it. It was like a very blasé attitude about it.
Yeah,
It wasn't
but I think that's because that's what we feel we've got to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
So
and
it's
I'm
real
obviously,
weird.
yeah, I'm talking
Because
about it from a male point of view, kind of thing. Yeah,
me. I've worked in male orientated sort of workplaces,
yeah,
and when you're in things like that, it was really weird, because I'm talking about the fire service, and I've been phoned up recently by Radio 4, because there was a big furore with London Fire Brigade at the moment about sexism and stuff in the fire brigade.
Oh, right, okay.
And I went back to the time when I was training, and they just opened up the training centre down in Avonmouth, right? And it could only be a man. Some man thought that it was a good idea to make the changing rooms unisex. And you know how open-minded I am.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm fine with that. But my God, one woman trying to change in a room full of 30 naked men was very intimidating.
I can imagine.
And there was quite a few times where I'm like, I'd literally just get changed really quickly and just go outside.
Yeah.
And I spoke to a female firefighter recently. I said, oh, is it still unisex down there? She's like, no. And I was like, well, 20 years ago, some bright spark thought they were like, oh, we're forward thinking here, when in fact it was, no, you're not. You're putting whatever woman, because there was only one or two of us,
I was going to say,
in very weird positions, but you go along. What am I supposed to say in that situation?
Yeah, it's not like it
No,
would
thanks.
be 30 women and one man. Then
No.
they would change that, wouldn't they?
Yeah. So it's one of these things that I've been in situations before where somebody's, oh God, I'll tell you, Jim Davidson.
Right.
So I work with Jim. He has got a habit of pissing in the sink in the dressing room.
Another exclusive.
It's almost like a ritual thing, because everybody around him is like, yeah. And as a person coming in, you're like, what? So we did a theatre gig not too long ago, and he walks into this dressing room and the door's open, and I go to go in, and then I'm like, is he pissing in the sink? And then they're like, yeah.
Is that because the toilet was being used, or the toilet was too far away?
Nope, just a thing. Always done it, apparently. Always done it.
Okay.
So it's just things like that you're like, well, I'm not going to go, oh, well, that's disgusting. It's just something he does. And yet, when it comes down to it, why that shouldn't be allowed?
That is very, very strange.
So it's just a weird thing. And it's the same. I said a couple of times I've walked in on the same comedian at two different things, where they go into the toilet and don't lock the door.
Right.
And like the first time I did it, I was like, oh, bloody hell, like, well, lock the door. Oh, God, sorry. And then months later, happened again. I was like, no, now I know you do it, hoping that somebody's going to walk in.
Yeah.
And now it's a different thing. So please stop doing that.
So that, but then you're telling them to stop doing it, aren't you? So
Yeah,
it's like you
but then
can't.
I would only say that because I'm in a sort of slightly elevated position to him now where I
Right.
wasn't, if you know what I mean. So
Uh,
it's a very, I know what you're saying about Lucy Kay. Whatever, he's going to come back. There's countless amounts of men that have done stuff in the UK that are still on the circuit. They're still working. So until that balance is redressed and whatever sort of like obvious evidence is out there, there's nothing we can do about it. But again, there's the murky line there for what
yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
saying. It's like,
No,
yeah, it was accepted, but then going back on it, you're thinking, was I really in a position to be able to say that was okay? Whatever. I've gone to see him on tour, and I when he came to the UK a few years ago, went to he was in the O2, wasn't he?
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Massive sellout tour. Went on my own to see him, and because I loved his program, Louis,
Yes. Yeah,
like
Louis.
brilliant.
Great. Yeah,
So I
great
was like,
show.
oh my god, I can't wait for this. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So I sat there, weirdly sat next to Jay from Five. Um,
As you do. As you do.
he was my favourite. Um, and it was basically the TV show on stage.
Oh, right.
So he said nothing in that live show that I hadn't watched on TV.
Really?
I was really shocked.
That's disappointing.
I was expecting so much. I'd heard so many good things. I'd loved the show, never seen him live, any of his live performances.
Yeah.
And he's just basically broken down the TV shows into chunks.
Wow.
Yeah.
How strange. Have you ever
So
seen Horace and Pete?
no,
It's a
that is show.
TV it's a TV show that he did with that he wrote that Alan Alda was in it, Steve
Yeah,
Buscemi
Steve
was in it,
Buscemi,
and it was basically
Jessica
like
Lange.
yeah, and
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
it's a dark comedy show, but it was like they basically said, well, I think he paid for it all and then
Yeah.
had it on his website, I think, and got people to pay for it that way.
Yeah.
And
Oh, no.
sometimes episodes were like half hour, sometimes episodes were 45 minutes. There was no format to it. It's just him. He owns a bar. His,
Yeah. Him and
yeah,
his brother, two
his
middle-aged
brother.
cousins, run a small family bar in the heart of Brooklyn with the help of their Uncle Pete.
Yeah. And it is, Alan Alda is fantastic in it.
I'm going to
He's
check that
like,
out.
he's a racist, misogynistic old fart that, you know, doesn't give a shit about saying really shit things to
Yeah.
people. But it's really dark in places as well. I mean,
Yeah.
just be prepared that it's not a balls out comedy.
Yeah.
It's a comedy drama.
I'll have a look at that.
But yeah, it's hard hitting, but there's some really funny bits in it, but some really dark bits in it as well. So, yeah, that was my
I'll
number
check that out.
4. So we need your number 3 now, please, Cerys.
My number 3 is Kevin Hart.
Okay. Okay.
And now this comes down purely. Now this is a pure Netflix thing, look, because I love his stand-up specials on there.
Right.
Not only the specials, but there's the behind the scenes one where you can see the work ethic that this comedian has for his art. Never have we had sort of like the inner workings of somebody so intensely focused on where they are and where they're going. And I'd loved the whole sort of thing behind it. And I think there's probably there's a comedian called Adam Rowe in this country that's probably following very closely similar to what he's doing, and that he's making shitloads of money.
Right. Would you say that Kevin Hart's one of, if not the biggest comedian in the world at the moment?
I would say so, and I'd say a lot of that is probably based because of the Netflix series. Because he wouldn't necessarily been on my radar. I'm not like when you talk to comedians, and I'm a massive Bill Burr fan, and this I don't watch a lot of American comedians or things like that. And yet, what got me into him was that, and then it's like watching somebody striving for the career that they want, and how much work he's put into it.
Yeah. I mean, I like him as an actor. I think he seems to be like a really good guy. I've watched a lot of videos of him talking on the inside the NBA with Shaq O'Neal and
Yeah.
and he just has a great repartee with all of them, and he's very quick with the one-liners, quick with the put-downs. I've never really seen much of his stand-up, I must admit, but I
I
might give
said
him a
like
bit of a
even like
try.
clips of him and The Rock when they're ribbing each other and stuff.
Yeah,
Just brilliant.
yeah, and you don't realise how small he is.
No,
He is
until you see him next to
tiny.
The Rock.
Yeah, but then everybody looks small again next to the
Yes.
Rock.
And obviously
But
he's been honest about his like cheating on his wife and
yeah,
stuff like that. And
yeah,
you know, it takes balls to be able to kind of do that. So
yeah. No,
no,
fair
got a
enough.
lot of
That's a
time.
good one. That's a good one. Okay, my number 3 is Tim Vine. Now,
Jazz's brother.
exactly. I think I've never. I can't remember the name of the video or the DVD that I watched, but I can't find it anywhere now, and it's not on YouTube or anything. But it was literally just the rate of the jokes that man does, and the stuff that he gets out of his bag, and it was like there was 5 or 6 minutes of him trying to throw a pen behind his ear, so it got stuck in his ear, and he couldn't stop until he did it. So the crowd are like clapping him, and it got to the point where he'd used all the pens up, so he had to pick all the pens up off the floor and do it again.
Yeah.
And then later on in the set in the DVD, he has this prosthetic big ear that he puts on.
Yeah.
With this even bigger pen that he's then doing it again for another 5 or 6 minutes, at least 5 or 6 minutes.
But the fact is, people sit there and watch it.
Exactly. And the longer it goes, the funnier it is.
Yeah.
Because you know that he's not going to stop now until he gets that pen. I mean, if he got it in the first couple of goes, that's great, and he moves on. But
yeah,
he just keeps doing it and keeps doing it. And it's
takes
hilarious.
A lot. One-liner comedians I've got a lot of respect for, because I mean, there's some shit ones out there, and there's some people that rip off Tim Vine and Gary Delaney and stuff like that. Tim Vine's obviously probably the original and one of the first ones that you can sort of remember.
Yeah.
Such a hard thing to do.
Oh my God, I don't know how they can.
And because you've got to get people on board to what you're doing.
Yeah,
it's the same as a character. I'd love to do a character. I want to do a character, but people need to know quite quickly what you're doing.
Yes.
And that's the same with one-liner jokes. If you just come out and just do something lame, it takes like 1, 2, 3, 4 jokes for them to go, right, we're on board now. We know what you're doing. Oh, this is great. But to have that uncertainty.
I think there's, I was going to say, there's a gift, isn't it?
The guy that won best act last night is the one-liner, Mark Simmons. So he's selling out tours at the moment, and his isn't the same as Tim Vine. He's got completely, you know, when you see some one-liners and you're like, I've heard this joke, like this is obvious. Yeah. Mark's is not. Mark's probably one of the first ones that you see and you go, yeah, no, I can see what he's doing, but he's not doing any like repeats of anybody else's. He won joke at the Fringe like that. Have you got went into a library and said, have you got a book about turtles? And she goes, hardback, and he goes, yeah, and little heads. So it's just things like that.
But see, that's a different. Now I did 10 one-liners for the intro, and I'd read them a couple of times to myself before we went on air to try and see how do you deliver them. You just did that as an after, and that was perfectly delivered.
Yeah, but it's not in my eyes. I'm like, I fucked this up because it's not when he delivers it. It's like great, and then when you're repeating it because we're not. It doesn't feel natural to me to do that kind of joke.
No.
But yeah, he's also brilliant. But yeah, Tim Vine, great.
He's
great.
Okay, then, Cerys, your number 2, then, please.
Go left field here, mate. Left field. Geraldine Hickey.
Who the fuck is that?
Exactly right. Australian comedian. I'm hoping to work with her in the next couple of months.
Geraldine Hickey.
Just popped up right on my Insta and my TikTok probably a year or so ago. I love her laid back delivery. And it's just sort of like you listen to it, she's like a storyteller, and you just listen and you're like, this is just fucking funny.
Okay.
And we're going to be in Australia at the same time. No, you would. It's literally like I said, Instagram and um TikTok where you're seeing most of her. So she's at the Melbourne International Festival. She's doing a tour I think she's in Adelaide when I'm in Adelaide, and I'm definitely going to go and see it. Just an up and coming comedian. Well, I don't even think she's up and coming over there. I think she's an established comedian over there,
Yeah.
but possibly over. She probably hasn't been over here, maybe doing a tour. But yeah, just love the freshness of it.
Hell of a quiff as well.
It's a lesbian quiff, isn't it? Eh?
I tell you what.
Oui.
I'll tell you what I'd give for a quiff like that.
Yeah.
What I'd give for any hair like that.
True, mate. True. Yeah.
Okay, so there's one.
Just a new one. I thought I'd chuck into the mix.
Wonderful, and that on the video playlist for anybody on our Patreon. Look, introduce you to a new comedian there, Geraldine Hickey. Okay, my number 2 was Peter Kay. So we've already spoke about Peter Kay.
Yeah.
So before we announce our number 1s, do you want to give us a rundown from 10 to 2 in proper sort of top 40 styley? And I'll do the same.
Like
if
that.
I had some music, I could do that.
In a 10 with Robin Williams, not to be confused with Robbie Williams, the Take That superstar. And at number 9 is another dead comedian, Sean Hughes. Initially a bit of a cunt, but then rectified himself. Number 8, again, we're following the dead theme with Victoria Wood, long may she rest in peace. And number 7, we've got Comeback King Peter Kay, followed by number 6, Adam Sandler. Great films, not everyone's great, but I still find them hilarious. Number 5 is Bristolian Russell Howard, thank you very much with your accent and your bog eye. Number 4 is very tall Stephen Merchant, 6'7", I'll have you know. I was with him last night. He is that tall. Number 3 is cheating Kevin Hart from all the way from the States that does the comedy in the round. Number 2, relatively newcomer to the UK. Well, not even UK, to you guys at home. Geraldine Hickey, all the way from Oz.
Wonderful. Don't say your number 1 yet.
Finally.
We'll do it in a sec. Yes. My number 10 is the wonderful Cerys Nelmes. Number 9 is Ricky Gervais. 8, Al Murray as the pub landlord. 7, Lee Evans. 6, Steve Martin. 5, Harry Hill. 4, Louis C.K. 3, Tim Vine. And number 2, Peter Kay. So, Cerys, what is your number 1, or who is your number 1 comedian?
I don't think you're going to get this, although you might do if you hear me talk about her. Miriam Margolyes.
Right, okay.
So again, gone a bit more sort of comedy, as in whenever she's on TV.
Yeah.
She is just, you can't
She's gold.
Teach that.
No, absolutely
that is just there. So when she's on the Real Marigold Hotel and things like that, or when she's on This Morning swearing, or when she's on the radio swearing, on Graham Norton swearing, I want to be her when I grow up. I just love her. All her character, every character she's done in anything, I want to be her. And I went to see her, like she obviously does an evening with Miriam Margolyes, just the most entertaining hour and a half I've ever seen. Just the story, this is a woman you could listen to forever. I wrote about her. There was obviously there's a book saying like the best sort of comedians, or your comedians that you sort of your heroes or heroines, and my chapter was on Miriam because I just bloody love her. Just love her.
She's a national treasure.
And let's just love her.
She
just
is.
Love her.
Yeah.
And I met her in Edinburgh. I was having a really bad time, and I got into this lift because Edinburgh Festival, as you know, is a little bit of a mental health fucking issue for me. Yeah. It's hard work up there, and there's only been sort of 2 times that I've felt at my wit's end, and she was there for one of them. I was like, I just want to go home. She's like, no, keep going, girl, keep going. We just ended up in the same lift together, and like I'd love her to bits, and it was great.
Yeah, I feel her and Brian Blessed should be like wrapped in cotton wool. Left somewhere so that they just like stay there for all time.
Oh yeah, what's she now? What, 81? Oh gosh, she's gonna go soon.
Well, she is now. She's on your list. I mean, Christ.
Well, exactly right. Yeah, the death
33% of your list aren't here anyway.
Victoria Wood being in Harry Potter. Look again, it's the same sort of
There you
ilk, in it.
go.
It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Just love
that's
her.
a great one. No, that is a great one. I think she, like you say, I've just been. I had a one free credit on Audible, so I got the Blackadder
Yeah, yeah. Don't
series.
forget. Yeah, yeah.
She was in, like, I think she must have been in 2 or 3 of the episodes. She was Queen Victoria in the Christmas episode.
Victoria, yeah.
Yeah, she was always great. She was always fantastic,
Yeah,
and she always like popped up in different movies and stuff as well. But
yeah.
yeah,
Love
yeah,
her.
she's wonderful. Bless her. My number one is the same as Neil's number one. It's Billy Connolly.
And you go say, yeah.
Um, uh,
Obvious one.
yeah, it's just I've grown up with Billy Connolly right from, oh God, I can't remember the first time I ever saw him, but the Big Yin, wasn't he? Where they called him to start with. He's just always been there, and he's always been. It is sad to sort of see him now, but he still seems to be like very switched on, even though it's
Yeah,
Parkinson's that he's got.
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So again, another one that you feel like obviously no one's going to be around forever, but as somebody that his comedy has always been that kind of, he's another one, starts a little thread, goes off on little tangents, and then brings it back beautifully to something. But like you say, it's because you're listening to him that you
Yeah,
get the full blast of what he's trying to do. And he's so clever with his comedy. He's just, I think he for me, well, he's my number one. So he is for me the greatest stand-up,
yeah.
the greatest comedian I think there's ever been.
I think for
Um,
me, look, I think I just missed him.
right.
Like, I think I don't know why, because, well, how old are you?
I'm 53.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm 44, so I think he was just that little bit before me watching him, if you
Yeah.
know what I mean. So my
Yeah.
stepdad loved him. My stepdad was Scottish, loved him, and I know so many people have got such good things to say, but I think I just never, it was never my sort of era, so I sort of
Right.
missed out on it a little bit. But
Yeah.
there's really weirdly the other day, there's so many like really shit comedians. I'm not talking any comedians, but there's comedians on the circuit that publicize courses, how, we'll teach you how to be a comedian and stuff like that. And I noticed his the other day, I think it's on BBC Sounds or something. He's
That's
got like a
right.
little thing,
Yeah.
and the trailer had more information in like the 2 minutes of that any of these other comedians could ever teach you.
Right.
Like, just in the, not even the stuff that you paid for, just the little trailer, what he was talking about was just so on the money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I need
Yeah.
to watch
And
him a
again,
bit more.
another national treasure. I really, really think that.
Bubble
And
wrap him again, put him
yeah,
up on the shelf with the others.
exactly. I mean, I can like you say, it's an age thing, but I can remember like being young and staying up and watching Match of the Day, and then after Match of the Day would be Parkinson, and he would be one of the greatest guests on Parkinson. He'd always be fantastic. And then he did an audience with on ITV,
I love those.
and that was the thing. I remember buying the video of that, and then Live at the Albert Hall was another one. He did a spot on the original Comic Relief that was live on stage, I think at the Drury Lane in 1985, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he did a fantastic set on there talking about how he was in the water and he looked round and he saw a fin. So he was like, he ran as quickly as he could, throwing children behind him. And then he turned round and realised it was his own flipper. So it's just stuff like that. Just
Exactly.
fantastic stuff,
Yeah.
So
No,
I think,
he's one of the best, definitely.
yeah, without a doubt. Okay, we got quite a few honourable mentions, so we'll fire through these. At Jalen Salman, who was our guest last week. Hello, Jay. Kate McKinnon, Michaela Cole, Robin Williams and Kevin Hart. Stu Grant said Nick Helm is bloody brilliant live, made me laugh and cry. Billy Connolly, Richard Pryor, Greg Davis and Robin Williams. Maria Pereira says so many, but James Acaster, Richard Ayoade and Eliza Schlesinger are up there at the top for current. George Carling for all time. Christine Hillary said Eddie Izzard. Chris Waylanger, Tim Minchin and Tig Notaro. Lisa Buchanan said Eddie Izzard. Have watched Dress to Kill 100 times. Stephen Wright. Oh, there's a name. Remember Stephen Wright, the one with the real monotone voice.
Ooh,
You ever watched Reservoir Dogs?
Yeah.
So he's like the K Billy DJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got
Oh
that
yeah,
that
he's
voice.
in that. He's in that Horace and Pete.
He's in Horace and Pete. I was just about to say he's in Horace and Pete, yeah. And Mitch Hedberg, hands down, have the best punchline delivery ever for the most mundane of topics. Nancy Trickell says Eddie Izzard, Jimmy Carr, and Dennis Leary. Crystal Waters, Eddie Izzard by far, and Eliza Schlesinger. God, that's a hard thing to say. Matt Williams says Bill Hicks, George Carlin, Billy Connolly, the two Ronnies, Morecambe and Wise, Victoria Wood, Dave Allen, Les Dawson, Peter Cook, Dudley Moore, Dawn French, Jennifer Saunders, Tracy Ullman, Lee Evans, Dylan Moran, Kenny Everett, of course, Eddie Izzard, Frankie Boyle, and many more. There's not that many more there. Laura Gollop said Lee Evans and Ricky Gervais, Jack Whitehall, Dawn French, Jennifer Saunders, Daisy and Charlie Cooper. Kerris is hilarious too. There's so many great comedians out there. Kim Peniston says we all love Kerris, and Liz Art said yes we do.
Oh, stop it.
There you go. Wendy Wiltshire, Count Arthur Strong. Carrie Ogilvie said George Carlin, Eddie Izzard have always been my two favourites. Jack Whitehall is hilarious when I see him on Graham Norton, but I haven't seen his stand-up yet. See, Jack Whitehall, someone I just cannot. I don't know.
I interviewed him once at the Comedy Awards backstage, and he wouldn't speak to me because he couldn't understand my accent.
Really?
Because it was so rough.
Oh,
He's almost like I don't speak to working class people. I was like, oh, fuck off.
Was he joking, or was that? Anna Cochran said George Carlin. At Just MS Me said Tommy Cooper and Ricky Gervais. Mark Kempner, hello Mark, said Lee Evans, Peter Kay, and Luke Kempner. Larry Salas said he was one of the best. It's been a year today since his passing. That's when we got this message. There will only ever be one Bob Saget. Kirsten Prynne said I adored Robin Williams. Yeah, Robin Williams. I thought I said Robbie Williams then. Corinne Pastor said Jimmy Carr, Jim Jeffries, Bill Burr, Brad Williams, Eliza Schlesinger, to name a few. At And Why Not Pod said in no particular order, George Carlin, Steve Martin, Jack D, Richard Pryor, Sean Locke, Dara O'Brien. See, why didn't you have Sean Locke in your thing? I mean, not being horrible, but he's not alive anymore. You know, you could have had him in there as well.
Yeah, he'd be on the extended list.
On the extended list. Dara O'Brien, Russell Howard, Dave Allen, Robin Williams, and Lee Evans. So thank you very much, everybody, for sending in your honourable mentions. That's it. We did it, Kerris.
Just us two of us.
I know. It was lovely, though.
Oh, it was nice, wasn't it? It's
really
nice to have one-on-one instead of that fucking weird threesome we normally have.
I know.
Although Cal's been here, but maybe we have had a even weirder threesome than normal.
It is kind of weird. It does look like we're sort of lying in bed together, doesn't it? It does sort of look like that. How you doing, Kerris?
You've got a weird headboard.
I've got a very weird headboard. So what have you got? I mean, obviously you said you're off to Australia for a month. I mean, is that work or is that play?
Tomorrow, then I'm at the Comedy Store for the rest of the week. Well, rest of the weekend, and I fly to Australia on Sunday for 10 weeks.
My goodness.
Yeah, all for work. The Perth Festival and then the Adelaide Festival. Then I'm back the end of March, home for about a week, and then fly to Austria for 2 comedy festivals over there.
Wow.
So yeah, back and then doing Glastonbury and all kinds of shit in this country.
Excellent.
Bit more voiceover work to torment people that just hear my voice on the radio, airwaves, and go.
And can you tell us? You can tell us what that is, or is
I'm just in the pipeline at the moment. So I might have to fly back from Australia to do it. So it's just going to be cray.
That is going to be very cray.
Yeah.
So how can people see your stuff and get hold of you and stuff like that?
Well, I'm on all the socials, and like I said, we need followers on social in order to get work. So I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Tinder, OnlyFans.
Oh right, what's the OnlyFans?
It's just Cerys Nelmes.
Is it?
I joke about it because they had a comedy competition on there, so we all had to join.
Oh right,
because they're trying to make it more of a platform for professionals rather than just slags.
Yeah.
And but I was already on there as a slag. But I've got like 127 followers. I don't even do anything really.
Really?
Oh yeah, they don't. Yeah, it's free to subscribe. There's nothing much on there. There's a few comedy clips and stuff like that. So don't get excited.
I'm gonna bother.
Okay. Yeah, and my website www.cerysnelmes.com.
And I take it you can get all the links are on cerysnelmes.com.
Yeah. Most
Well,
of
we'll
them are,
put
yeah.
that link
But
in
it's
the
under
show
Cerys
notes.
Nelmes for everything, because there's
Yeah.
only one path. There's only one
There
Cerys
is.
Nelmes.
Thank God for that. There's only one
Exactly.
Cerys Nelmes.
Thank God.
Right. Yeah, so I'll put that in the show notes so anyone can just click on that
Yeah.
and they can get in touch with you and all that kind of stuff. Just to let everybody know that when this is released at the end of this week, I'm going to be doing the 24-hour charity podathon again. It's the second year, so it's going to be live on my Facebook, and I think it's going to be live on our Top 10 Twitter. So I will put the links in. It's going to be for Stroke Association and the Cirencester Cancer Relay for Life. So hopefully, I know that obviously cost of living crisis, if we raise £100 for each charity, that's £100 more. I'm not expecting us to get to, I think, £3,500 that we raised last year. So I'll put the links in the show notes. If you can donate, that is fantastic. If not, don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. But I'm going to be on air for 24 hours from Friday the 27th at 8 p.m. to Saturday the 28th, 8 p.m. I must be fucking mental. But we're going to do that and we'll have some fun. Cerys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's been so nice spending a couple of hours with you. It's been far too long. Have a lovely time in Australia.
Will do.
And
Thank you.
Don't go bringing back any creepy crawlies or any like, tropical diseases or anything like that.
I got all of them anyway.
Be a good girl. Don't go giving them any tropical diseases or anything like that.
Spread the love. Spread the love.
And in our eyes, you are the MC of the year every year.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cerys. Thank you very much for everybody to listening and watching and all that stuff. Neil, don't go breaking your toe again, and let's start the countdown.
10, 9.